they've Judy would know more of the history of what happened, but pony ball, everybody was involved in Little League back in the day, and then some people got upset with the program at Little League, and they formed a pony league. And I'm assuming that's still going. I see the information on it every now and then, but I just couldn't get. I stuck with Little League, and the kids, my boys played with that all the way up to they were 18. You know, from 7 to 18. So.
All right. So what you do for a living?
Pardon?
What you do for a living?
I was a systems. Well, I retired from the phone company, and I started out as a telephone installer in 1966.
Locally?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All local. Yeah, I'm a native Sacramentan.
Do you know, what's George's last name? He worked with a phone company. Sure, I could look it up. Okay. Okay.
But yeah, I retired. Well, 20. I retired in 02, and I was a system technician, and I worked in the high maintenance in the high speed world. But it was a good ride. You know, it was good to us.
And where were you born?
In Sacramento.
Oh, in Mercy General or Sutter?
The only one around was Mercy General in the 40s.
Okay, so you're all right. Today was what? You know, I always mess that up. 4/7/23. And when I ask you what year you were born, don't give us your whole birthday. Just give us the year.
1943.
Oh, so you're 10 years. I'm 53. So, all right. Are you ready, Ken? Did I introduce you too?
No.
Hi, you.
This is Ken. He's our videographer.
Hi, Ken.
And this is Bob Riley. All right. Hi, I'm Maria Nodolf with the Orangevale History Project. I'm here with Ken Benedict, our videographer, and we're here to interview Bob Riley, who is a longtime resident, born in Sacramento, involved with the phone company and with Little League Baseball. So, Bob, you were born down in Sacramento.
Yes.
When did you move to Orangevale?
1968.
1968. And were you still in school then?
No. I came back from overseas in 66. Got married in 66. Got on with the phone company in 66, and lived down in Sacramento until my wife found the house we're in right now in Orangevale.
So you were in Vietnam?
No, I was in Germany.
Oh,
nice. I was in the Vietnam era, but I did not serve in Vietnam.
Okay, so you were in Germany. Okay. Yeah. So, do you want to talk about the phone company first, or would you rather talk about baseball?
Well, the phone company was very interesting because, you know, Pacific Telephone at the time was owned by AT&T. And then when they broke the Bell system up, it went through divestiture, and that was an interesting time. And then Pacific Telesis was the holding company for Pacific Bell and Nevada Bell. And that went on for several years. And then SBC came in and bought Pacific Telesis. And SBC, they were kind of a different breed of cat. They were out of Texas, and they kind of wanted to run things the way they did in Texas, and that didn't work out too well in California. I didn't want to retire as early as I did, but I told my wife, I said, you know, when you come home from work and you kick the dog and yell at the wife, it's time to get out. You know, so I retired in 59, and it worked out. I had a good ride. I had 36 years, and they gave me 4 years of time, so on paper it was 40 years. And it worked out very well. It was a good ride. I enjoyed it. The last few years were rough because as far as service wasn't what it used to be. You know, service isn't what it used to be at all right now, but it worked out well. I enjoyed it. We had a lot of interesting times. And then the time that the boys were in Little League and I was working, I was volunteering with the fire department. I graduated from Sac State in 1972, and they had a sign out in front of Station 22 on Filbert Avenue looking for volunteers. So I figured, why not? And I was working swing shift, and they needed daytime volunteers. So that worked out real well. And then that program ended when they started started merging all the fire departments. And Citrus Heights was kind of the Citrus Heights Fire Department was kind of the nucleus for Metro Fire. And when they merged with Rancho Cordova, that ended the volunteer program in '89. But I was involved with Little League all that time. And the kids, my oldest boy started Little League when he was 7. And it was good. It was interesting. They played at, with, of course, the youth center. We played over at La Vista Continuation High School. And they played at what was then Roberts School, which is now, I think, Orangevale Open. But my boys enjoyed it. You know, they never continued on with baseball. But it was fun. It was a lot of time consuming, especially when the kids were 2 different ages. You go in 2 different directions on any given Saturday, you know. But it was a lot of fun. We enjoyed it.
Going back to your fire days, any exciting fires in Orangevale that you had to put out?
Well, there were some interesting ones. We had one night when 3 churches burned on the same night, and the church burned over at Vallejo and Maine, and that was the biggest one. And then the church burned on Central, and then we didn't find out till the next day that the church over on I think it was Pecan, near the Grange or Walnut. It's on Walnut. It was started, but it burned itself out. They didn't find it till they opened the door of the classroom the next day. You know,
So they suspected arson then?
I believe so. Yeah. I didn't get involved in that part of it.
Well, you were running all over the place, I guess.
That night it was pretty interesting. It was funny because when the kids were younger, I had a scanner in the car, and when the dispatch came on and gave an address, the kids would know what Indian's going to be dispatched before the dispatcher said it. You know, even if it wasn't Orangeville, somewhere else. You know, so that they grew up with that situation. But it was very interesting. I had a very interesting time out here. We've, like I say, we've been here 55 years. My oldest boy celebrated his first birthday in our house. But Orangeville's a great place to grow up.
When did you start your involvement with Little League?
Oh, geez. Probably, let's see, 67, probably about 72, 73, somewhere in there.
And what did you do? Were you one of those parents screaming from the sidelines, or?
No, I managed a team for years. I was the equipment manager for 1 year, but my wife had a hard and fast rule, and I broke it every now and then, was that whatever happened during a game, leave it there. Don't bring it home at dinner time, you know. So that made for some peaceful dinners.
That was smart of her.
Yeah, she was, well, I wouldn't have got through college if it wasn't for her. Just one of those things, you know. When I walked across that stage to get a degree, she should have been with me. You know, it's just one of those deals. Because I started college at AR in '61. It was a total screw up. I played baseball there for about half a year, but my grades were a lot worse than my ability. So I had to go night school, day school, and then I just joined the Army in '66 and came back, and you're a whole different person, you know, after that.
So you married in '68?
'66.
In '66. And did your wife go with you to Germany?
No.
What's her name?
Gladys.
Gladys.
No, I went to Germany in '64. I got out in '66.
Oh, okay. And that was the Army.
Yeah.
And so can you talk a little bit about your experiences with the Little League?
Well, we had I managed a team called the Padres, and we had, good and bad seasons. That was the Little League majors. When my younger boy was in the minors, I did a minor league team. That's when I started doing managing, and then as he went up, I managed the team when he went into the majors over at the youth center, and then when he went on to seniors, I made I'm not going to manage kids. 12 was my limit. I wasn't going to take him in for 13, 14, 15. No way. But so then I brought my younger boy into the majors when he was 9, and he played 3 years. And then when he was done, I was done. The managing, because I figured that I could handle up to 12, but after that, there was going to be bad things to probably happen to them and me probably. So anyway, but it was a fun time. I enjoyed Little League. It was good for the kids. It worked out good for us. Between Little League and the fire department, a lot of family dinners, got interrupted and that type of thing. But I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
That's lovely. So what are your recollections of Orangevale in general?
Well, the biggest regret I have over the years is that I didn't get out and take pictures, regularly of Orangevale and what was in Orangevale, because I look back and I see so many, I know, at the corner of, I guess it's Pecan and Greenback, well, they had Sicardi's feed store was down there, and then he had a big old barn that was on the street, and he had a huge pile of hay on the east side of that barn, and that caught fire one time.
I was gonna say.
And that was probably a 2-day project to get that one under control, because you don't put a hay fire out overnight unless you tear it apart, spray it. And we had to use something called wet water that makes water slippery, and but yeah, that was my biggest thing. I remember this. You guys wrote a story on the grocery stores in Orangevale, and I'm reading that story, and I says, wait a minute, where CarQuest is now, there was a market, and I remember the name of the people that owned that market. He had a passel of kids, and he had a daughter named Teresa, and he sold so much bread that a bakery here in town actually baked his bread with his daughter's name on it.
Wow. And do you remember the name of the market?
I don't. You mentioned Greenback Market, but I can't remember if that was the name. But I know the people that owned it or worked there were named the Fuchs.
F-U-C-H...
F-U-C-K...
F-U-C-H-S?
Yeah.
Fuchs
Yeah,
family?
F-U-C-H-S, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they were... and then, of course, Wild Sports started out as a little hole-in-the-wall place on the east side of Main Avenue. And then there was a Vans Market right on the corner of Main and Central, and that morphed into the new Wild Sports. But yeah, there was a friend of mine from church that was a deputy sheriff, and we got a call one day of a car fire in front of Vans Market, and we get there, and it was a van, and it was. And then this sheriff deputy shows up. It was his wife's car, and they had 4 or 5 kids, But here comes a deputy sheriff showing up, and it was his wife's car was burning. But
oops.
Yeah. But and I'm trying to remember. Of course, the Orbit gas station's been there for 100 years. But other than that, I just wish I'd have taken all the. I took tons of pictures and tons of albums on vacations and so forth, but I just never got out and walked around the town, type of thing, and took pictures. And that would be a real thing if I'd have done it. I know we go down to Bodega Bay every October. I don't know if you're familiar with that area. But there's a campground right on the ocean, 6 miles north of Bodega Bay, and we started to go down there, and it was just literally a parking lot on the beach. Bushes were like 1.5 feet high, and now it's sort of developed. They have a bathroom and they have water faucets, but there's no hookups or anything. And the Rangers were doing a history project on that a while back, and they couldn't find anything. Well, my sister-in-law had taken pictures, so we showed the Rangers all these pictures of Wrights Beach back in the 70s, and they couldn't believe it because, like I say, and now it's, the trees down there are 20 feet high, but that's my biggest regret, is not doing a better pictorial history of the Orangeville when I first got out here.
Well, we are collecting photographs of Orangeville like crazy, and once the museum, we have a museum,
Yeah.
once that gets going,
Nice.
once that gets going, you'll be able to come in and see all kinds of pictures.
Well, if I find anything, I'll get in touch with you.
That would be wonderful.
But I know we got all kinds of albums that we haven't looked at in years. In fact, my son came out last night looking for a baby picture. He works at American River College, and he came out looking for a baby picture. And I got home from work last night. My wife says, "Don't go in the middle bedroom." Why not? Tim was over, and they were looking for a picture, and I guess it's a shambles. So, but they found one. But yeah, if I find anything from early Orangeville, I'll be sure to get a hold of you.
That would be wonderful. So you have any other recollections you want to share with us?
Well, I'm just trying to remember when I first came out to Orangeville. We were looking for a house, and when you start with a phone company, you don't make a whole bunch of money. My wife was working for the state, but we didn't want to. We wanted to live on my salary, not hers, because we were going to start a family. And we knew we couldn't qualify for anything over $15,000, and everything on the south side of Greenback was more than that. So the north side of Greenback was kind of the more reasonable, So we found my wife found a house. We both knew what we wanted, and she found the house actually, and we assumed the fellow's loan, so there was no qualifying or anything involved. But it was really interesting because now the north side of Orangeville is the higher rent district, if you will, type of thing. We got some McMansions out here, as you will know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, but I'm just glad I bought on this side of Orangeville because I served on the Orangeville CPAC for 10 years, 2.5 terms. And there was a fellow that had his dream was a horse ranch on the south side of Orangeville. They had 5 acres, and then they started subdividing around it. And, they have to do a land use type thing, and we'd have a hearing, and we'd say, well, there's a horse ranch there. Horses bring flies, you're going to have a barbecue, you're going to have issues. Oh, no, it'll be fine. Well, they forced him out, because people complained of the horses being behind their back fence and the horse flies and so forth. And I really felt bad about that. But land use has always been a battle in Orangeville. And back in the day, it was business professional and daycare centers. A lot of daycare centers wanted to go in residential areas. And then the other thing that I recollect, I really am proud of, is that Orangeville was part of the Sunrise Park District. And we were like the stepchild, we felt, of Sunrise, because they built Rush Park, they built all these nice facilities. And so Orangeville decided that we're going to have our own park district. And Sunrise said, oh, you'll never make it, you can't do it. Well, we did it. We formed our own park district, and the only building we owned was the youth center. So we kind of remodeled it, made an office over there in that building. And then the parcel where the community center is now became available. And it was we made an offer on it, and we ended up having to. So there was some miscommunication going around that we were going to condemn the land and steal it. Well, it doesn't work that way. If you use eminent domain, you got to pay market value. You get an appraiser, we get an appraiser, and it works out. Well, the bottom line was we ended up with the land, but then we had to figure out how we're going to finance anything. Well, the best way to do it was through a program called Miller-Roos. And that allows the governing board of the area to go with a parcel tax. And that's what we did. We figured out the parcel tax that we approved was $42 a year per acre of residential land, or any land. We had hearings and then we actually had the sheriff deputies at our hearings. They got so bad, so vocal and so really ugly. But everybody wanted to put it to a vote. Well, the way the law is written, we couldn't put it to a vote. We would have loved to put it to a vote, but we couldn't do it. So it went through. You look at $42 a year. People say, "Oh, we're going to lose our homes. We're going to $3 a month. Give me a break," type of thing. $3.50 a month or something. Give up one latte a month and you're home free, type of deal. But anyway, so the parcel tax went through, and you see what we have: a community center, we have a pool, we have a pretty good facility there right now. But when my term was up on the park board, I was kind of naive, and I'm not a politician. And I was kind of naive. I had to be elected to the first board. But the second time around, I said, well, I'll take another shot at it, because I really wanted to see this community center built. And I really shouldn't have run, because hanging over my head was that parcel tax. People were still bitter about it. And there was a guy running around Orangevale that he had a pickup truck with sideboards, and he put a fire axe on the side, and he says, "Axe the tax." Well, he gets elected, right? And about 2-3 months later, I get a phone call from him, and he says, "We can't get rid of the parcel tax." And I says, you think? Because the bondholders wanted security. Well, the security was the land. If we reneged on the bond, they're going to take the land. There goes the park district. So he ended up resigning from the park board a few months later, because it wasn't it takes a lot of time to but land use is still an issue out here. I know there's still people that there's a group called Save Orangevale that is trying to keep it as rural as possible, but I know we're kind of dealing with a situation right now over where Tom Tomich used to have his orchard. But it'll all work out, it's just one of those deals that goes with the times. But you folks on this side of Oak Avenue have, it's still 2-acre zoning, and people are trying to save that. They changed the community plan, and they started working on it in '68, and I think it was approved around 70 or 72. They finally got it approved, and there's still 2-acre zone or 2-acre parcels, this side of Greenback, but the overlay shows different zoning, type of thing. But it's been a nice ride. I've really enjoyed living in Orangevale, and I'll probably die here in Orangevale. My wife and I we're trying to keep the house to the point where we can stay in it, as long as we can. So, and I'm sure when we go, the kids aren't going to want the house, because they've got their own lives. And one's in the Bay Area and one's in Carmichael. Mm-hmm. So, it'll just go to whoever wants it, and the kids can do what they want with it, And if they my wife and I are both kind of pack rats. We figure that's how we get even with the kids. They deal with the mess, so. All the years we put up with them, they can take care of this mess.
Well, you worked for the fire district. What were the roads like in Orangevale back then?
Well, Central Avenue was about half as wide as it is now. There were a lot less potholes, I'll tell you that. They were pretty much like they are, you know. The road system hasn't changed much, except for the infill projects where the cul-de-sacs come off the main roads and so forth. But I know where Station 22 is on Filbert. To come out of the station and get on Greenback Lane was a chore because you had to climb a little bit of a hill. And even back then, people didn't like to yield to anybody, you know. I mean, you'd have the air horn going, the siren going, and they're still speeding past you to get up on Greenback Lane. But the roads they haven't really improved that much, other than they've widened them, you know, in places. But yeah, no, the fire department was really interesting. We had I remember one fire out here in this area. It was a chimney fire, and it actually burned part of the roof. And it was winter, it was frosty. You're up on the roof and you're sliding off the roof. But it was only it was one of those kind of roofs, it was only like a 5-foot drop to the ground, you know, type of thing. But yeah, we got to looking at that, and when they built that house, they actually put a rafter through the chimney. And that's how the fire started, you know. So
A wooden rafter?
yeah, the 2x4 went through the chimney, it bricked it up on both sides, and of course when that caught, it just burned through the hole that it made. But so that, I don't know if that was a homemade deal, because the building inspector sure didn't catch it.
Mm.
But I've really fell in. I love Orangeville. It's really nice out here. So yeah, when I was teaching you guys about being newcomers, you know that. But you've got a pretty nice setup. You have what? You have more than 2 acres here, I assume, don't you?
We have 3.
Yeah, yeah.
And Ken lives in Orangevale too.
Yeah, my mom's property is 3 acres
And this, whereabouts is that?
off Central.
Oh, really?
Hmm?
What do
Central
you?
in Maine.
Pardon?
About Central in Maine. Somewhere
Really?
around there.
Because I'm only 3 houses off Central in Maine.
Oh,
What side of Maine are they on? They must be on the east side.
north side. I mean, west side.
The west side of Maine.
Yeah.
Okay, because the house on the corner.
It's a long, skinny driveway and it goes back.
Okay, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that property, I gotta find a way to put all the parcels back together, if there's a way to do it.
Well, because the apartments are back there off of Maine.
Not where she is.
Okay, because so is your driveway off of Central?
Mhm.
Interesting. Yeah, because I lived right across. There was a fellow named Dewey Smith that lived out there, and he had 2 acres, and he had horses on his 2 acres, and he was right across the street from me. But that's been developed. And then I think there's 4 houses on the north side to Maine from me, because I'm on the north side of Maine.
North side of Maine?
I'm sorry, Central.
Okay.
Central, yeah.
Yeah, so is she.
Pardon?
So is she.
Oh, she's on the north side of Central? Really? Because I know that when I first moved out there, there was 4 acres that were right beside me on the west side. It was 1 acre wide and 4 acres deep. And the guy wanted, it was for sale, and he wanted like, I don't know, $70,000 something. It might as well have been $1 million for me in '68, you know. But it was a little old house up on the very top, little old farmhouse. And the farmhouse is still there, but there's 2, it was 3 acres. There's 2 houses. That one house has 2 acres and one house has 1 acre. They're right beside me on the west side. So, yeah, but there's been some good neighbors, you know.
The fire department had a problem with Wyatt Lane years ago, and came off of Main Avenue because the Wyatt brothers decided to just take over the road.
Well, Wyatt Lane also comes off of Santa Juanita, I think, too, doesn't it? On the west side of Santa Juanita.
Oh, it might go over there, but I'm talking
Yeah.
about the west side of Maine. They just built a house on the road.
Really?
Yeah, and then there was a fire in my folks' apartment behind it, and they looked at the map, the Thomas guide, who said, "Okay, here, go take Wyatt Lane. There's a house there." So all they could do was watch the apartment burn, the house burn.
How long ago was that?
Years.
Yeah. I know. I grew up on the little piece of Walnut Avenue between Madison and where the college is now. It's an American River College. And it was a Citrus Fire Department, and the ladies in white were the volunteers. And they were left over from World War II because all the guys were in the service, and the ladies were the fire department. And then when the war was over, what are we going to do with them? Well, they became the ladies in white, and they were great. They were great. I remember I had to drive the ambulance one night from the station clear over on Oak Avenue, and I'm saying a prayer, man, please have the ladies in white beat me there, type of thing, because our ambulance was a '56 Pontiac. But yeah, I didn't know there was the 3 acres back in there. That's interesting. Someday I'm going to have to take an airplane ride over to Orangevale and just take some pictures, because you see these places from the road and you don't realize that they might be 2 acres, 3 acres deep, So, did you folks get any damage out here from the storms that we had?
Minor damage. Our little greenhouse, we had to run around and find all the tiles.
Yeah, there was a fellow on the west side of let's be Central and Walnut, west side of Walnut, and he lost a huge oak tree. And it came down. I mean, it was a big tree, and when they had to bring a crane out to get rid of it, and the crane was blocking Walnut Avenue for half a day, so. But
I remember that was a huge tree. I think part of it's still there.
could be, but that way I drove by and I said he lost a wrought iron fence and a gate, but didn't miss his house. He missed his house anyway, so. Well, that's been interesting, folks. I don't know anything else I can tell you that you.
Well, Little League, Fire Department, Park Board, Telephone Company, Family Man. Sounds like you had a good life in Orangevale.
I did. I really did. I enjoyed it. All the experiences have been wonderful.
Good.
I wouldn't trade them for anything. My folks were involved in a lot of community stuff that was growing up, and it just seemed like a natural thing to do. So both my boys. Well, my older boy just retired from Oakland Police Department. He got 30 years, and then my younger son works in American River College, the office down there, and he's very involved in volleyball. So, and in fact, I just found out my granddaughter in Carmichael just got a learner's permit, for crying out loud. So. We want to put the whole area on alert, So. Now she'll be doing fine. Anyway, folks, I've enjoyed this. This is great.
Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Well, thank you. This was a surprise out of the blue.
Well, we got your name from Kay Barnes.
Okay, yeah.
So we thought we'd sit down and have a chat with you.
Well, like I say, if you can get a hold of Judy Whistler, she can really fill you in on the history and the ups and downs of Little League here in Orangevale.
Sounds like fun.
I mean, the Orangevale has a big league program, or the Little League has a big league program, and they play at American River College, or they used to. And Judy was involved in the snack bar down there quite a bit. But when we first gotten involved in Little League, Judy was the scorekeeper, and my wife worked with her and taught her how to, she taught my wife to teach score. And to this day, we go to River Cats games, and my wife still keeps score for those games. Yeah, she has to have her scorebook and keep busy. But it's funny because people will come up and say, how many strikeouts do we have so far? And she'll look at the book and say, oh, there's 5 strikeouts so far. Now they're putting it up on the video board, you know how many.
I used to do videos for the Little League over here, Fair Oaks and Orangeville Little League, several years ago, and then some parents got upset because they didn't want their kid on video.
Really?
Yeah, and I said, okay, but it's a public event. Anybody can take pictures of any kid.
That's right. And see, that's just interesting because my son coaches, my younger son coaches club volleyball, and when you go to these tournaments, you know, it's for the parents to play, for the kids to play volleyball in these clubs. It's not cheap, and they video these tournaments, and then these videos are sent. Colleges see them, and a lot of kids, because of these videos, get scholarships at colleges, and that's what happens. Well, if you ever seen the movie Blindside, where the brother of this adopted football player takes videos and he sends it to these different coaches, and in the movie they go nuts, and this guy ends up playing for Ole Miss, and then he ends up going pro, you know. But
Well, I can do that for the high school and the college kids, but anything lower than high school, parents object.
really,
I was taking videos of the Twin Lakes Riding Club. They were doing different events, the gymkhanas and the stuff like that. They didn't want their kids to be on video riding a horse.
to me that's memories. You know, when the kids are, you know, 20 years old, they can, hey, look back on the day I rode this horse in this contest or whatever.
Yes, exactly.
That's just kind of short-sighted.
Yeah, so I walked away from both of those organizations. I said, if you change your mind, give me a call.
Yeah, I worked with a fellow in the club I belonged to up in Roseville, and he's a sports, he does sports videos, and he takes the team pictures, you know, type of thing.
Yeah.
And then COVID kind of wiped everything out, so I'm not sure what he's doing now. But yeah, COVID hit the our program at the ballpark pretty hard too. Well, the 2019 season was essentially canceled, you know, so.